sometimes the prep is so long for these things that I end up then when I'm bringing the booze out, because I like what I like to do is get here early, click everything on, bring the booze out so it's all in the cart right next to me. But today...
did none of that.
Yes, today none of that happened. None of it happened at all. Today's episode is sponsored by ourselves. One of the most important things about cocktails is their presentation. And your garnish game can really make or break that presentation. So Marius and I decided that we wanted to start making some dehydrated fruit. Not only are they beautiful to look at, they're pretty long lasting, and they're functional garnishes. All of our citrus are sourced locally, and this is a really good way to help the channel. The garnishes are made in small batches. They're essentially made to order. So head to the shop and no coupon code needed because they're amazingly priced and it helps the channel. Today we're doing a Jasper's rum punch, and it feels kind of weird because today we're just doing one cocktail. Usually we like to do a whole slew of cocktails for you guys, but today well, that's not true actually. We're doing one plus a bonus. So we're doing 2 cocktails today because I can't help myself. Jasper's rum punch was created by a guy named Jasper LeFranc, who was the most popular, most famous bartender at a place called the Bay Rock Hotel in Montego Bay, Jamaica. And actually the Bay Rock Hotel doesn't exist anymore, but it was bought by Sandals. So I guess the Sandals Resort bought it in the 80s. Anyway, it's been there since 1953, and it is said that this guy Jasper LeFranc has been working there possibly since 1953 at the onset of this hotel. And this guy was so popular, he was basically the Jerry Thomas of this particular bar.
He's not still working there. No, it's because it's shut down, yeah.
No, it's Sandals now. But the thing is
he
that
works at Sandals?
So Sandals bought the property and then they destroyed the building and made it Sandals.
But he doesn't work at Sandals still, does he?
I don't think this dude's alive anymore, bro. Because he was in his 30s in 1953.
He's been working there since 1953, I think you said. So it's like, oh.
No, okay, let me rephrase that because Marius is right. This is maybe a little bit confusing. So this cocktail is from the 60s and 70s, and he had been working there possibly since 1953. So he'd been there for like 15, 20 years by the time this cocktail came about. But this guy was so popular that even travel brochures and travel magazines would write about this guy being the draw to going to Montego Bay. So if they're like, if you're headed to Montego Bay, you have to go by the Bay Rock Hotel and get a cocktail from Jasper LeFranc. And the Jasper's Rum Punch was one of his most iconic and then also signature cocktails. And he had this thing called the LeFranc Mix, which was a batch basically that he would mix, like a simple cordial kind of that he would mix so that he could easily just, I guess he's just making these cocktails in volume and he's easily just like a 2-step, 2-pour kind of thing and then just on his way.
Yeah, like Don did and everything, yeah.
So this is basically a batch cocktail. So if you guys are having a party or if you work in a busy bar, it's a bar hack. Like one of the best bar hacks is to batch out your cocktails if you can so that you can just easily pour, enjoy your party, or have an easy, nice night at the bar. But before we get started, let's make that LeFranc mix. I have everything right here. I just put it all in jars. So we have some lemon juice. It's a very simple mix. You're just gonna need a jigger, lime juice. I said lemon, but I meant lime. A lid for it, sugar, and some Angostura Bitters. And we have 4 ounces of fresh... We have 4 ounces of freshly squeezed lime juice, and then we have 3 ounces of sugar, and we're just gonna combine those 2 things and give it a stir. This isn't in the official thing, but I like to add 3 drops of saline to make it BAP! Did you not catch the reference? Mm-hmm. Where'd my freaking ice pick go, dude? You touch my ice pick, Marius? You wouldn't. And then we're gonna do 1/4 ounce. Now, I have scaled this recipe down quite a bit. So in the description below is the full recipe and then just scale it down however much you want. But this stuff is so delicious, actually, you can just make a lot of different cocktails with it. So it's very useful. All right, now that we've incorporated everything enough, we can give it a shake, try and dissolve that sugar as much as we can. And there you have the LeFranc Mix, or I guess Jasper's Mix. Everyone calls it Jasper's Mix, but I've read in various publications that it was called the LeFranc Mix. So
I mean, that sounds more fancy than Jasper's.
The LeFranc Mix?
Yeah.
This recipe was a secret, which I guess at the time was smart because no other bartender could make Jasper's Rum Punch in Montego Bay or anywhere else in Jamaica. So people would have to come to this bar and this guy to get this cocktail. Obviously, it's been backwards deconstructed. So I guess in one travel publication, they called it the LeFranc Mix as opposed to Jasper's Mix. But what I like about the LeFranc Mix is that it makes it sound super fancy. Mm-hmm. But Jasper's Mix makes it sound more secretive. So we're continuing the trend of Leandro forgetting something. I'm going to give you 2 guesses what I forgot.
Yeah, booze, probably.
Yeah, we don't have any rum. And it's hard to make Jasper's rum punch without Overproof Jamaican Rum.
And it's only, yeah, I guess. Only rum, yeah. Only
Rum,
rum.
Overproof Jamaican Rum. So, yeah, we're going to do Smith & Cross, I think. Love this stuff. This is actually one of the very first Jamaican rums that I like. I think this might actually be the first Jamaican rum that I tasted that like blew my frickin' mind, like just blew my mind.
But that must have been like decades ago, huh?
Well, not decades ago, but I mean a decade ago, probably about maybe a little over a decade ago, but yeah.
Decade and a half.
But you know, embarrassingly, like I had already been working in a craft cocktail bar before I really understood what rum was, and my embarrassing understanding of rum was like limited to like spiced rum, like Sailor Jerry and Captain Morgan, and I'd never really thought about rum in the same way that I thought about whiskey, but I have been like pretty knowledgeable about whiskey for a long, like since my mid-20s, like for a long, long time.
For decades.
Yeah, stop it with the, why are you trying to frickin', oh my God, you're like trying to dox my age, dude. You know what's funny is that like, I don't have any chilled glassware.
Prepared, I see.
Oh my God, stop it. Yeah, okay. We're just gonna make the cocktail now, okay? I'm actually going to, there's 2 ways that you can do this cocktail. You can swizzle it in the glass, or you can whip shake it. I'm gonna whip shake it though.
How was it done at the bar?
I have no idea. I could not find any notes on how Jasper LeFranc made it. If anything, I bet you anything he swizzled it, but I bet you anything that Jasper LeFranc was enough of a professional that he also then didn't forget to put his glassware in the fridge either, so.
You think they put glassware in the fridge in the 50s?
Yeah, that's not like a new practice. You don't think that they did? Well, at least he had them lined up on the bar filled with ice and water to chill the glass. But yeah, they've been chilling glasses for a very long time, my friend. You really think that in the 1950s they didn't chill any glassware?
Refrigeration was kind of newish. I don't think they would have wasted the energies just keeping empty glasses in there.
He worked at the poolside bar, which I don't know if I actually mentioned in the history section.
He didn't.
But he worked at the poolside bar, and if he's working at the poolside bar, there's refrigerators, and there's refrigerators there. I'm not sure what kind of refrigeration they had in the poolside bar in the I mean, maybe they didn't have any refrigeration at all, but they had to have had something because they had ice.
Right.
So, and ice, I mean, we've been shipping that around the world since the 1800s. So,
But refrigeration
when was the refrigerator invented?
I mean,
here we go. This is where you annoy all the haters, okay, with obscure factoids and like a whole side conversation. I guess relates to the video, but
yeah.
Now you're calling into question how I decided to build this cocktail. By the way, the non-professional behind the camera, the person that knows about cameras and knows about editing, but doesn't know anything really other than what you've learned from me about cocktails. Which, by the way, if you weren't sleeping behind the camera, you'd probably be a freaking professional bartender by this point. But you're trying to tell me, you're calling into question the way that I want to build a cocktail.
Well, no, because he said there's 2 ways you can do this drink: is either swizzle it, or shake it.
What do you think? What do you think Jasper LeFranc did?
I know, and then you said
he probably swizzled it.
I don't know.
He probably swizzled it.
Why is
you think that they were putting glassware in the fridge in the 1950s?
Fridges were like high-end stuff in the 50s.
Yeah, and they were such ballers at Montego Bay, at the Bay Rock Hotel in Montego Bay.
I mean,
that they had fridges for their glassware.
I don't think like refrigerators started becoming normal.
So what you're saying is that I should. So basically, what you're trying to do is shame me into using antiquated technology to make the cocktail because I should make it the same way that Jasper LeFranc.
No, you're the one who brought it up. But why couldn't
I'm the one that brought it? Oh, by the way, anyway.
But why could it not have been a drink mixer like the Hamilton Beach? That's the third option.
I don't think it was a drink mixer. It could be a drink mixer.
Wasn't that very
that was very common
in the
tiki
50s?
cocktails, but who knows? We don't know. Like I mean, I could make it with the drink mixer.
Yeah.
And that's not unheard of for
See, I'm paying attention.
That's not unheard of for tropical drinks, but at the same time, like the drink mixer was used because it added aeration, and usually the Well, I mean, that's not necessarily.
I think
I was
it
going to
was
say
just
that usually
mix it up.
there's a pineapple juice component that froths up and makes it really nice.
Yeah.
And makes it kind of milkshakey in quality. But, you know, honestly, there's a ton of cocktails that were done in the tiki era that had no pineapple juice at all and still use the drink mixer.
Yeah, because
So you're thinking that we should break out the drink mixer.
No, I'm just.
Let's break out the drink mixer. I am not opposed to that, you know. It's going to save my tennis elbow is what it's going to do. So, and it's right here. I mean, like, why not? Oh, let's be loud about it, shall we? I mean, why not just break out some good old-fashioned technology with a new-fashioned drink mixer?
I feel like this is like the halfway point between, or it's like the swizzle and the shake
It's
combined into one.
dude, you know what a drink mixer is? It's an automatic swizzler.
Yeah, so it's
Basically
like
what it is.
it's like the two techniques combined into one.
All right. We'll go with it. Marius, the drink coach. I like it. Could be a whole new job for you, a whole new career, just waiting to happen. Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Shamed into using the drink mixer, but that's cool. You know, I don't mind. That's a nice. It's a good suggestion. You know what? I am not above taking your suggestions. Most of what you say is complete and utter nonsense, but this time you did good. All right, so we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of our mix. And 1.5 ounces, maybe a generous 1.5 ounces of Overproof Jamaican Rum. I'm using Smith & Cross. Gonna do about, I mean, they usually say like a 1/2 cup of ice, so we're gonna equate a 1/2 cup of ice here. And give it the old whirly poo.
Did you know Edison invented a refrigerator?
And very nicely aerated too. What'd you say?
Was it Edison? No, it was somebody else. Einstein invented like a kind of like a refrigerator that didn't need electricity.
A refrigerator that didn't need electricity?
Yeah, I mean it was more like a cooling cabinet thing.
Top it up with that old pebble ice. Honestly, for a drink that's served this tall with no soda on top, I would much prefer higher volume. So, but we're gonna take a sip right now before we garnish it. Oh my God. So freaking good. And what's nice about it is that it really accentuates the flavor of the rum. The flavor of the rum is the star here. You get all of that hogo. You get all of those tropical fruits inside my mouth is like watering as I'm talking. You get all of those, tropical fruit flavors of the Smith & Cross. It's really well supported, but then you have a little bit of spice from the Angostura, and you've got that nice balance of lime juice, a little bit more lime juice than there is sugar to balance it out, and the cordial is really nice. It's nice and bright. It's everything that you want a tropical rum cocktail to be. Very simple. I could see crushing these on a hot day. Deceptively good though, because it's overproof rum, 114 proof rum, is gonna pack quite of a punch, and I could see myself overdoing it by accident and not being able to get up out of my stool.
Is that why it's called a punch?
Maybe that's why they call it punch. Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's like a whole history on why it's called punch. I'm gonna give it the lightsaber straw. Here, we'll just turn the lightsaber upside down. There you go, Jasper's Rum Punch. Well, that wasn't the only cocktail that Jasper did. He didn't just entice people down to Montego Bay and just serve them up one cocktail. He's had a lot of other cocktails up his sleeve.
Oh,
so first he got them to sit for a Jasper's Rum Punch. Then he whipped out the Jasper's Jamaican.
Is this the same Montego from the Kokomo song?
Yeah, it's Montego Bay, Jamaica. Yeah.
Aruba,
I would assume
Jamaica.
There's no other Montego Bays.
I don't know.
Did you think there was another Montego Bay that maybe the
all of a sudden
Beach Boys had frequented?
Huh? No, I don't know.
Aruba.
Well, one of those places
Jamaica.
don't exist, right?
Wait, but does Montego Bay do they make us, is there a lyric in the song that says Montego?
I just think they just said Montego.
To Aruba, Bahama, come on pretty mama.
Yeah, and then there's like
Iago, Montego. No, it's like, it's Aruba, Jamaica. No, something Jamaica. Ooh, I want to take her to Aruba, Bahama. Come on, pretty mama. Something Montego. Ooh, why don't we go to the Kokomo?
Yeah,
we'll get there flat. Maybe Kokomo doesn't exist.
Yeah, one of those places I think don't exist, man. I don't know.
Cool. I'm sure people really care about that. All right, let's go actually get this. We're gonna actually make the actual Jasper's Jamaican and not the respec version that I think there should be, because it doesn't seem to me that this spec has enough lime juice in it, but we're gonna taste the original and then maybe we'll respec it in a future episode if it's worth it. But first, we need to find, oh, here it is. So St. Elizabeth's Allspice Dram. That's it, that's all we needed. Simple syrup. Well, lime, actually, I don't know. Maybe there's enough lime juice. This is basically a daiquiri. It's just a Jasper's Jamaican is Jasper's kind of signature daiquiri here. We are gonna need a citrus squeezer for this guy. And probably a knife if we want to effectively use the citrus squeezer.
Yeah, or it's gonna be a mess if you don't, but you could just squeeze it to
Just squeeze a full-on lime.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, but can you imagine? I mean, like when these things like pop,
Yeah.
can you imagine what would happen if you did it just a full-on lime?
Yeah. No, it'd be interesting.
It would be, well, I mean, you know, it would pop. We're gonna do half an ounce of lime juice, 1 bar spoon of simple syrup. This is where things get a little crazy. You could also for half an ounce of Allspice Dram. What?
I mean, you could also do like a very scant quarter ounce.
Yeah, I guess you could. Half an ounce of Allspice Dram. That's a lot. Stuff is powerful stuff. And then it calls for 1.25 ounces of Jamaican rum. We're using the 8-year. And this is definitely gonna have to go in the Nick and Nora because it's short. It's a short cocktail. Maybe they got, he was like, okay, after the rum punch, you've drank so much alcohol that now you need to take it easier with a lower volume cocktail. There were no garnish notes, so I'm assuming it goes sans garnish. Let's try it, the Jasper's Jamaican. Holy mother of Allspice Dram. Okay, the Allspice Dram is nice and powerful. I think it takes away from the rum a little bit. We're gonna have to respec this, I think. It's very tart. It needs a little bit more sugar because the Allspice Dram and plus that little bit of simple syrup doesn't really balance out that lime, and I think the rum is getting lost. So either we're using a more flavorful rum next time, or we're just gonna pare that Allspice Dram down. You do get some notes of the rum, but I want more of that Jamaican like kind of funk and those tropical fruits to come through with a little undertone of Allspice Dram, but I kind of figured that this was what the cocktail was gonna be because half an ounce of Allspice Dram is just a lot unless it's a really high volume cocktail or something. So there it is, Jasper's Jamaican.